In this video, we're going to cover the major components as an overview of Search Console, and it'll become clear to you why Search Console is so important for SEO optimization of your website. After you've completed the verification process, you'll have a pull-down menu over here with all of the websites which you have verified ownership of. And you'll get the first screen, which is a dashboard. It includes some information about errors, search analytics, and sitemaps if you've uploaded a sitemap. There's also a messages section. This is really important because messages that appear here are things that Google has found wrong with your website that it would be beneficial for you to correct. So you see increase in server areas, Googlebot can't access your site. These are indications that the site was down or that something disappeared and that's why Google can't find it anymore. It's good to pay attention to the error messages that they give you. Under search appearance, we have structured data. We'll talk a little bit later about data markup, but there are tags that you can put in your website depending on the type of website it is that shows information like author and updated date and these kinds of things. And this can help Google figure out what kind of data is on your website and how to best display it in search results. On the Data Highlighter tab, you see a little bit more information about that. Here are some examples scrolling by of websites that have particular kind of information, events information. In this case, there's a restaurant and there's ratings of the restaurant and prices. And here is things to do. And so if you have a website that has particular information like that, that would be appropriate to appear in search results, you can use the Data Highlighter tool to tell Google about it. HTML improvements is a very important area for SEO. Here Google looks at your site and it says, hey, I found duplicate meta descriptions or meta descriptions that are too long or missing title tags, etc. We'll come back and look at this in more detail later. Site links. Let me show you an example of site links. Many of the larger sites, for example Apple, have a submenu. They have a great deal of traffic, and Google has determined that these areas within the Apple site are worthy enough to have their own link on the search page. These are called site links. You cannot control whether or not there will be site links for your website, and if so, what kinds of site links there might be. But if you have site links, then Google will display them right here, and you can help Google decide whether something should be a site link or not after they've already nominated it on your behalf. Accelerated mobile pages is a new phenomenon. It is an attempt to speed up the mobile part of the web, and we'll spend more time later discussing what that means and why you should be concerned with that. The search analytics area of Google Console is one of the most important, and this is where we're going to spend the majority of our course looking at this and understanding how it can help us optimize the keywords of our website and thereby get better traffic to our website. Links to your site is Google's view of how many incoming links there are from other websites to your websites and where they come from specifically, which websites are linking to you and which pages within your websites are being linked to. Then this area, how your data is linked, is how those incoming links are labeled, what their anchor texts are. Here's an area that shows you what internal links you have. For example, the home page of this website is linked to internally on the website 1,700 times. So all of these things are giving you an indication of what Google cares about, and that's why they provide information about these things, because Google cares about each of these topics. Manual actions is an area where if Google believes your website has violated some kind of terms or conditions, or if you're trying to spam, or if you're trying to cheat the search engines in some way, you might have a penalty applied to your website, and that would appear here in many cases. International targeting is if you have particular language or country that you're targeting, and you can tell Google what that is and put it here. Mobile usability, for couple of years now, Google has analyzed the mobile usefulness of your site, and in this case, it's our site is mobile ready, it's responsive, and so there are no usability errors that have been detected. But this can affect your mobile ranking significantly if Google doesn't like how well your site performs on mobile devices. Google Index tells us how many of our pages have been indexed, and it can even tell us which ones have been removed from the Google Index. And so clearly, if you have a nice stable line and if your content is growing, then this is good. That means that Google is picking up the pages of your site and putting them in its list. Being indexed means being eligible to appear in Google search results. And just because you have a page on your website doesn't mean Google considers it worthy to be indexed and worthy to receive traffic. However, if you've got good solid content and it's lengthy enough and you're linking to it in some way, then it's likely that Google will index your pages. Content keywords is Google's view of your pages. They read all of your pages and they have an idea of what your pages are about. This gives them context to know when to display your pages and in what situations. Remove URLs. This is an area that you rarely have to use, but it's a way for you to get your URLs or pages that you don't want to be included in Google search index removed. And there are several situations when you might want to do that, and we'll come back to that at a later time in the course. Crawl errors is an important part of Google Console. This says what Google has determined in your site. If there are pages that are linked to but it can't find, then it tells you what those pages are here, and you can remove the links or create the pages or redirect those links to another place. This area shows you some statistics about the crawling that's going on in your site. Crawling meaning how often Google is reviewing the pages of your site, how many bytes it's downloading per day, and how much time Google is spending to download those pages. So one of the most important numbers is this one up here. For this particular website, it looks like Google is reviewing about 780 of the pages, roughly half of the pages on the site. Google is looking at every single day to see if those pages have been updated. Fetches Google is a handy tool. You can click Fetch, and Google will show you what the web page looks like to it. And if you believe that the page has not been indexed, then you can submit the index to Google's search algorithm. But you can click Fetch and Render instead, and then this will show you what the page looks like from Google's perspective. And in this case, you can see that Googlebot sees the page much as a user would see the page, and that's how you want it to be. There may be occasions when they're different, and if that's the case, that means that the user may be seeing info that Google is not, in which case you may choose to make that info more visible to Google, or vice versa. Robot text files are files that tell Google what it should and should not access and index. And this is a mechanism to test those files. Sitemaps are lists of URLs. This site, for example, has some sitemaps like this one that tell Google all of the pages that exist on the site. Now this sitemap apparently has some problems, which we'll need to look into to find out why Google is not reading that sitemap appropriately. And then there are a couple of other categories, and these change as Google's priorities change. This area is entitled Security Issues, and there aren't any security issues right now. If, for example, you had malware or some kind of a virus problem on your site and Google detected it, it would show up here. And then Google from time to time adds tools that you can use to help you evaluate your website and get it into compliance. One of the important ones on this page is Page Speed Insights. That tells you how fast your page is loading on different devices and gives you advice on how to speed it up and how to fix it. And it appears in this list because speed is something that Google is very concerned with. They know that users like to have a speedy, responsive environment, so they provide tools to help you speed things up. So that's kind of an overview of all of the options, and I realize it was very quick, but we're going to get into the important ones later in the course.